Welcome back to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into Chapter 14 of our source material, titled Love Speaks Many Languages Fluently. We are going to completely dismantle this idea of a one-size-fits-all approach to counseling, care, and, well, human relationships in general. I mean, think about it. Have you ever tried to help someone through a really tough time and it just felt like your words were completely missing the mark? Or maybe you've been on the receiving end, feeling totally misunderstood by someone who genuinely thought they were helping. Yeah, we've all been there. So, you're in exactly the right place today. We are going to look really closely at how true, effective care requires us to be wildly adaptable.
But hey, before we can even hope to help anyone else, we kind of have to look in the mirror, right? We need to confront this deeply formational question about our own default habits. Ask yourself, which language of love do you overuse just because it feels safest to you? We all have a go-to response. Maybe you're the type who immediately jumps into problem-solving mode, or maybe you're the one who just wants to offer a big hug and endless validation. We do that because it feels comfortable for us. But here's the foundational premise of this whole chapter. If we want to actually help people, we have to step out of our own comfort zones. We've got to learn to speak the language that they actually need in that specific moment.
And that brings us to this recurring anchor from the text. To see more truly is to love more wisely. Now, right seeing isn't just about, academic mastery or gathering facts so you can be the smartest person in the room. Not at all. It exists solely so we can offer really skillful, targeted care. Being able to truly see a person, understanding their context, their pain, the hidden fears they aren't saying out loud, that is the engine that drives wise love. It's about taking those deep theological truths and making them deeply personal, custom-fitting them to the actual, breathing human beings sitting right across from you.
Okay, moving on to Section 1, Beyond One-Size-Fits-All Love. So let's just get this out of the way. Biblical counseling is not simply pouring data from one brain into another. We aren't just downloading a bunch of correct information and expecting it to magically fix someone's life, right? We have to move way beyond some rigid mechanical formula because, honestly, a love with absolutely zero flexibility isn't really love at all. 1 Thessalonians perfectly maps out 4 distinct dialects of care for 4 completely different human conditions. Just look at the variety here. We've got admonish the unruly, which is a firm, clarifying word of warning. Then encourage the faint-hearted, a beautiful dialect of comfort and courage. Help the weak, that's your practical, hands-on, sustaining support. And running beneath all of those is the absolute baseline requirement to be patient with all. It's fascinating, isn't it? The exact same love speaks entirely differently depending on who is standing in front of it. And this brings up a massive point. Think about the real damage that happens when we get these dialects crossed up. What happens if you perfectly comfort someone who's actually just being willfully unruly? Well, you end up disastrously coddling them. But on the flip side, what if you bring harsh, heavy correction to someone who is simply weak and barely holding on? You're literally going to crush them. Wise love is about doing the hard, creative, and prayerful work of fitting the truth to the specific person, the exact right timing, and their actual capacity to receive it at that moment. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the log in your eye. Listen, if we're actually going to learn multiple dialects of love, we have to recognize the accent we currently speak with. We've got to find that log in our own eye before we go digging for the speck in someone else's. So looking at these preferred languages of care, which one jumps out at you? We all have a favorite relational chair we like to sit in. Maybe you're the classic organizer who wants to fix the chaos with a beautifully color-coded spreadsheet. Or maybe you're the teacher, ready to drop a 5-point lecture when the person really, truly just needs a hug. Some of us are quiet witnesses to pain, while others want to jump right in and exhort people to action. Now, these are absolutely incredible gifts, but the critical question is this. Are we bending the person to fit our style, or are we adapting our style to fit their actual need? Because your greatest gift can become a massive rut if it's the only tool you ever pull out of your toolbox. The source material highlights this brilliant principle of using different medicines for different people. It's such a great analogy. A proud person might desperately need you to hold up a mirror so they can see themselves clearly, but someone who is despairing, they just need a hand to hold. A confused person might need some solid structure, while a threatened person just needs a place of safety. The counselor or friend who only knows one single tone of voice is eventually going to misuse the truth. It's not about moral relativity, it's about incarnational wisdom. All right, moving into Section 3, Rates Truth, Wrong Order. This pastoral caution is absolutely central to this chapter. The point here is that having perfect theological accuracy means absolutely nothing if your sequence and timing are totally off. You could have the perfect answer, the perfect scripture, the exact right diagnosis, but if you drop it on them at the wrong moment, it instantly stops being helpful. Giving correction before comfort to a deeply hurting person is a failure of your love, not a failure of their listening. I mean, how often do we get super frustrated that someone isn't taking our excellent advice when the reality is we totally skipped past listening and comforting and just bulldozed right into challenging them? If the sequence is wrong, the care is wrong. Period. Let's look at how to fix that in Section 4, the sequence of wise care. So how do we actually put this into practice in the real world? How do we bridge this huge gap between knowing the theory and actually caring for someone? It's a beautifully fluid 5-step movement. And notice I said movement, not a rigid formula. Step 1 starts with wholly patient listening. We just listen. Then, step 2, we clarify to make sure we actually understand what they're saying. Only after that do we dare to move to step 3 and interpret what might be going on beneath the surface. And then finally, step 4, we speak. Step 5 is putting it all into practice. We have to move slowly, deliberately, before we ever pretend to offer an interpretation. Seriously, it is a profound act of love to just hold your tongue until you truly understand the person sitting across from you. And as we work through that sequence, we absolutely must look past the visible symptoms. We have to compassionately explore the deeper desires bubbling under the surface. But, and this is absolutely crucial, we have to do this without suspicion. We are not interrogating them under a spotlight. We are coming alongside them with, charitable curiosity. Ask yourself, what are they actually afraid of? What are they fiercely loving and trying so hard to protect? Are there real bodily limits at play here, like, say, severe exhaustion, that are just amplifying their whole struggle? We've got to step back and see the whole person. To really hammer this home, let's look at these 3 distinct case vignettes. Side by side, it becomes super clear why generic advice just totally fails us here. Take approval hunger, for example. If you've got someone who only seems spiritually alive when they're being praised, their heart is literally treating visibility like oxygen. If your only advice is to tell them, hey, just pray more, you have completely missed the root issue. Or look at embodied depletion. This person is irritable, feeling deep shame, but they're also skipping meals. If you come at them with a harsh theological warning instead of just telling them to go eat a sandwich and get some sleep, you are crushing the weak. It's as simple as that. Every single unique scenario demands a completely different, customized medicine. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a final, outward-focused question to really challenge your next interaction with someone who needs care. Here it is. What form of love does the person in front of you actually need? Are you going to insist on speaking the language that is easiest for you? Or will you do the hard, humble, and beautiful work of learning an entirely new dialect of love so that the person sitting right in front of you can finally hear the truth? Think about that. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep adapting, and keep loving wisely.